public meeting of the City Commission of the City of Brownsville pursuant to Chapter 551, Title 5 of the Texas Government Code. The Texas Open Meetings Act notice is hereby given that the City Commission of the City of Brownsville, Texas, in accordance with Article 5, Section 12 of the Charter of said city, will convene a regular meeting, an executive session, and a work session on Tuesday, June the 18th, 2019, at 5 p.m. in the Commission Chambers on the second floor of Brownsville City Hall, Old Federal Building, located at 1001 East Elizabeth Street, Brownsville, Cameron County, Texas. Would everyone please stand for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Let's pray. Father God, we thank you for the city of Brownsville. We thank you for the leaders that have given of their lives and of themselves to serve the city. We ask you to give them divine wisdom today as they look at the issues before them. Lead and guide them, show them the future effects of the decisions that they make. And tonight we ask you to lead and guide the voters as well in this election. And Lord God, we thank you for the city of Brownsville, and we ask you to bless us in your name. Amen.
Amen. Next, we have the City Secretary's notice of items to be discussed in executive session and consideration of motion to move into closed session as allowed by the Texas Government Code. I will read the executive sessions. Executive Session A, attorney consultation pursuant to Section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code pertaining to pending litigation styled and numbered Brownsville GMS versus the City of Brownsville, case number 2019-DCL-02693 at the 445th Judicial District Court in Cameron County, Texas. Executive Session B, closed executive session pursuant to Section 551.074 of the Texas Government Code to deliberate the evaluation of a public officer or employee, to wit, City Manager Mr. Noel Bernal.
Mayor, I move we go into executive session.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carried.
The meeting with a work session. And for the work session, letter A is building community presentation on downtown initiatives.
Bless you.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Bless you. Okay.
Can you hear me?
I can't hear you, but
No.
that's, there you go.
Can you hear me now? A little bit. Okay.
Is the microphone on?
Yeah, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. All right. Good evening, Mayor Martinez and distinguished members of the City Council.
As you continue, they're going to raise your volume.
Okay.
Yes, just keep on speaking and they'll raise it
Okay.
up.
Well, like I was saying before, Mayor Martinez, members of the distinguished members of the City Council. My name is Valeria Landeros, and I am an associate designer at Building Community Workshop. We are a nonprofit community design firm that focuses on addressing social, economic, and environmental issues, and we do this through community-engaged design and research. I am presenting today on the Brownsville City Design Studio with the goal of taking on the issue of homelessness in the Brownsville downtown area. The Brownsville City Design Studio is an ongoing program that is done in collaboration between the City of Brownsville and BC Workshop. Its goal is to create a space and facilitate research and analysis of current issues that are important to the city. Okay. Well, our role in this initiative is to utilize our skills as architects, designers, and planners to support the downtown in its current path towards revitalization in a manner that improves the city from an aspect of quality and experience, as well as support of its residents. And personally, from someone that grew up here and is native to the Rio Grande Valley, I think it's a super exciting time in the city's current development to give the citizens an improvement in their quality of life, and also to give them a sense of pride for the city that they call their home. So, and so with this, we have two goals, which is restoring the dignity of the homeless population in the downtown area, and as in tandem also create downtown progress with the local businesses here in the downtown area. And our efforts will lie in pushing towards a downtown that takes into account the advancement of local businesses in tandem with the well-being of the population that is in critical need. And by giving the homeless population a place to clean themselves, to go to the bathroom and rest, it will strategically minimize disturbances with businesses and landowners over time. And also, in order to give back a piece of their humanity and dignity, we need to give this population a place that they can call their own. And we do this in the step of research, design, and delivery. Through our research, it will consist of collaboration with local homeless support organizations, mapping, surveying the local context, basically taking into account factors that we could use as importance into our design process, and also analyzing successful case studies that have been done in the past, whether it be in larger cities or in a different urban context. And ultimately, this research will lay the groundwork for our design method and how we approach it. For our design, we aim to achieve schematic design output that understands the issues of the homeless and the need for a thriving downtown. And throughout this process, we also want feedback from our collaborators, from our partners, and different perspectives, just to help us, come up with a good design decision. And for our delivery, we want to conduct a research summary that concludes all of our findings, maps that are formulated to be informative, articulated, and will be able to be utilized as a guide for project continuation and other future endeavors and design developments. A schematic design board that will have design concepts that we've come up with that thread our narrative together and really tie it in. And also a written report that formalizes the issue at hand, the findings, and of course, the overall process. So now I lay down for Q&A. So.
Very good. Anybody have any questions or?
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Next, for work session, we have the boards and commissions. We're going to discuss Board of Adjustment, Brownsville Beautification Committee, Brownsville Convention and Visitors Bureau, Building and Standards, Greater Brownsville Incentives Corporation, Historic Preservation and Design Review Board, Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee, Planning and Zoning Commission, Brownsville Public Utilities Board, Border Film Advisory Commission, and the Brownsville Public Library System Advisory Board.
Good evening, mayors and commissioners. My name is Elizabeth Walker. I'm in the office of the city manager. We come to you this evening in a work session format, born of some of the changes that the commission directed through the City of Brownsville policy on board and commission member appointment and eligibility. This is the policy that prescribed that staff will now bring to the commission twice per year those various boards and commissions to which it is the commission makes appointments. The commission later determined that those appointments would be scheduled in June and December. So this will be the first time that we come to you in such a manner. I'm joined this evening with the various liaisons for the different boards for which it is we have known vacancies as of Friday. We had known vacancies either because the terms were scheduled to expire by this appointment period by June, or because we had a resignation from those boards. So our intention for this work session is to introduce to you 11 boards, the purpose of those boards, and the meeting schedules of those boards, so that way perhaps we could tease some interest from the public, should they be inclined to apply. Separately tonight, then we have for your consideration, should you be amenable to consider to appoint to any of those boards. So let's start then. There are 11 boards that are identified for the work session. Each of these has a vacancy identified. Of these, if you'll check our math, 10 of the 11 are actually identified for action later in this evening's meeting. One of them is not, and that's because as of Friday and through today, we do not have an application on file. So we will just plan to bring this back to you no later than December at the next appointment window. So let's start with the Board of Adjustment and what it does. The Board of Adjustment is a quasi-judicial board that has the following functions in relation to enforcement of the zoning ordinance. You can read that here. They meet the first Wednesday of every month here in this room. You can see that there are identified 5 vacancies for consideration this evening. 1, 2, 3, all expired in March of 2019, and a 4th one in May. A 5th one is an alternate member, which is presently vacant. The commission may opt not to fill the vacancy at this time. Myra is here to speak to each of these members, should they be inclined to be reappointed later. Otherwise, I'm happy to just proceed through the other boards. We have Brownsville Beautification, which is responsible for the beautification of public spaces, and they meet on the 2nd Monday of the month at 6 p.m. As of Friday, we had 5 known vacancies to this board. We've since received 2 additional vacancies, notification of 2 additional vacancies. So on the agenda this evening, we've preserved for you to consider 5 of those vacancies. We have identified here the names of those and their expiration. The Brownsville Convention.
Excuse me, did you want to say something, Commissioner?
Well, just keep going. I was going to make a comment, which was that I guess June did not consider there was going to be runoffs, and in just a few days, there's going to be at least 2 new people up here. And so I'm hesitant, very reluctant to appoint anybody to boards when there's going to be a new group of folks up here. So personally, I would like to table the actual appointments, but I do want to hear about what the different boards do.
Well, here's my question to you all as a commission. Whoever is sitting here, and I will not be here, so that's what I'm saying, is that should we make this presentation, and I think I talked to Noel, but it makes more sense to me, but again, I want to get the commissioner's input. And Elizabeth, I'm sure you guys have all worked hard to be here and get whatever you're going to be doing. But, you know, the next meeting, there will be, we'll be having the turning over of the new commission. And so it makes more sense to me to be able to make this presentation at the next, whenever the new commission comes into play. I know.
I'm happy to cease and desist at your pleasure.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to
Okay.
bring it back
But
to
I
you the
mean,
next
again,
meeting.
I don't want to take a straw vote, but if someone wishes to,
I would,
Mayor, I
however,
just had-
if I may note, I may be
Had a
remiss.
comment.
sure, I'm sorry, go ahead, Commissioner.
I know that we approved the ethics code and all that. People reached out to me that serve on board. As a matter of fact, right when I got here, I was speaking to a lady on the TAC board. And can somebody please explain to them, because they've been told that they need to fill out their documentation for, it's the.
Financial disclosure.
The financial disclosures, okay? And from what I gathered from her, it hadn't been explained to her. And I told her, I said, I call that my embarrassing report. That's the report that says I have nothing, only debt. And so I said, I told her, I said, it's really not a big deal. I said, if you're good, you'll fill out 3 pages, probably, you know. And that's what I do. I try to like, something like 3 or 4 pages. So there are some people that are reluctant, but I feel that, you know, after the explanation that I gave her, you know, she said, well, then I feel comfortable with it and I'll fill it out and I'll send it in. But she was calling me to let me know that after years of service, she wanted to get out because she didn't want to be disclosing any information.
Can I?
So I think that maybe with a proper explanation to them, if you all could send them an email
Yeah,
with a proper explanation as to what that is, I think that would probably help them out a lot.
Can
It
I
would
make, yeah,
keep a lot more people on our boards.
yeah, can I make a comment here? Yeah, what I would like to see y'all do, because I think Commissioner Ricardo Longoria is making a good point. I've had a lot of people call me and go like, I'm not going to, whether it's debt or whether it's, you know, assets, nobody really wants to get into all that stuff. I mean, we, the ones that run, also have to file financial stuff. And so, Renee, I would suggest that you and Elizabeth get together and so that we really clarify what it is that our responsibilities are for these applicants, because most people do not want to sit around and give you a financial report to come serve on a committee. And so
We
my,
lost our P and Z board.
yeah, I am inclined to say, if somebody would agree with me, that we have items number 11 through 20 that have to do with all of these appointments. And if someone would file or
Motion to
make
table
make a
items.
motion to table.
Out of respect for the.
Items
Okay,
identified.
and
Second.
all
Along
in
with the
favor say aye.
workshop, work session, along with the work session.
Along with a work session and along with an explanation to everybody and put it on the website, put it everywhere as to what this financial disclosure has to be, because, you know, I think it's a little bit murky, and I don't want people to be dissuaded from coming and helping us out, because we want all the help that we can get. But if they're saying, listen, I mean, obviously the object is if I've got a piece of property or something that's going to be right next to something the city's building, that would be a conflict or things of that nature. Whatever is appropriate, but not to tell you, hey, I've got, you know, 1,000 stock shares of GE or whatever it is, or things of that nature, or the value of my properties or the value of my, you know, all those things I think is not really the intent. But I think Renee and Elizabeth, if you can give us some clarification, and then give us all some time for the election results to come out, and therefore get a fresh new start on all this, okay?
Mayor, if I may, we, a couple of weeks ago, we held a workshop where we invited every single committee and board to attend. It was over an hour-long presentation. We answered questions after the workshop. We advised them if they had any further questions for us to reach out to legal in regards to some of these. Most of the feedback that we did receive, Mr. Mayor, was perhaps some reprieve from having to comply with 38 if you were only an advisory board. This is an item that I know that I've spoken to some of the commission members in regards to that. And what we're doing now, and as we explained to all the boards and committees, is that right now we're under a period of grace, or a grace period, wherein they don't need to comply with 38 in regards to the PFS, which was their main concern, until we got some final direction from the commission. And that is an item that we're trying to bring to you all for your all's consideration in regards to some of the requests that they're making. So this is a working item, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah,
We did
well-
held that workshop.
We might substitute that PFS for this conflict of disclosure statement, or something similar, something a little
But
more
that's not on
toned
the
down.
agenda item. I would suggest that whenever y'all want to take it up for the future commission, that would be something that would be appropriate. So right now, we have a motion to table all items from 11 to 20,
Well-
and I have a second.
Mayor, just one comment. So one of the unintended outcomes of the Chapter 38 requirements is the P and Z board, which is a decision-making board tied to all of our development that's happening in the community. They don't have a quorum now as a result of members resigning. So last Thursday, I believe, they could not hold a meeting, and we have the July meeting, but because of the way the scheduling works and the amount of days that have to be given in terms of the notices for some of the requests, we would set back some of the development until August. And we have received complaints already from developers about holding up their applications. So if anything, I would suggest the potential appointment of at least P and Z board members so they can conduct the business of the city on development-related matters. Because they're
Well,
going to,
and I totally agree with you, but I would suggest that perhaps maybe you could put that item, I think we have a July 2nd meeting, is that correct? Is
We
that
can
when
put it
we
July
canvass
2nd.
canvass all the results? and-
Well, if you
We c-
look at the appointments, there's 3. You would need one more to have a quorum, and one of those appointments was mine that dropped. So if the commission, just for the sake of business, I mean, I would be willing to appoint somebody for the sake of the community.
what would be
If-
the impact from staff? What would be the impact on
Renee.
schedule?
You know, here's what I'm saying, is that we can table it at this particular point for all of the commissions. And then if there is an emergency situation that has to be taken up, I would suggest that we do that on an emergency basis.
If Renee mentioned that we're in a grace period, then if these people resign from the board because they didn't want to fill that form out, can they just continue to serve until?
Until they're
new peop-
replaced.
Until they're replaced?
Well, if under holdover provision, perhaps I would need to investigate that. If the appointments are over 2 years old, if the appointments were over 2 years, they might be able to hold over, Commissioner. I'd be happy to inquire into that.
Yeah, why don't you take a
Even if
look?
they
I-
resign, they
Commissioner,
should be
can I
holding over
speak?
until
I mean, I just
replaced.
don't see why it's an
We
issue
have
to appoint one.
resignations. We have resignations from planning and zoning commissioners. At resignations, immediate resignations, they've submitted the request to resign. We do have 6 candidates, 6 people that have applied for that position. And so that's just the information I want us to share.
Right,
Okay.
no, but they resign because they don't want to fill out that
That's what
form.
I'm saying, is
So
that if you could talk to them and see if there's, so you can get a quorum, any one of them who wants to unresign and rescind their resignation.
Or consider them holdovers.
And that
Yeah.
is what, I think that would be the
Yeah,
only way,
go
Commissioner.
that
If we can
route. That
consider
way you
hold-
don't have to be under pressure right now.
I believe all of the individuals that resigned were appointed last year.
Yeah,
So they're
okay.
not
But we have a motion and a second, and all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Nay.
They are tabled. Okay? And then
And,
deal with that on
Noel,
a rational
Yeah.
basis.
I had
okay?
one other point to make. Maybe
Yeah.
consider during election years that these appointments not come until after a possible runoff happens, so that we don't
Right.
have all these wonderful people preparing, and a lot of people in the audience that came in for their appointments that,
Yeah, that was the sequencing that was impacted by the runoff. That was an unforeseen.
during election years, make it later.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay? Thank you all very, very much. Appreciate it. City Secretary, I think.
That got us through everything.
Next, we have Mayor's Letter of Gratitude.
Yes, I'd like to take this opportunity for the folks that are here and the listening audience to read you a letter. This, God willing, is my last meeting as the mayor. Next meeting will be to change the, giving over the baton to the new mayor. And I'd like to say to the residents of Brownsville, first and foremost, as I express my gratitude to the people of Brownsville, you have given me the honor to serve as your mayor for 2 consecutive terms. To you, I am eternally grateful. Earlier this month, I was honored to speak at the Brownsville Performing Arts Academy in the historic Stegman Building. Was joined by Ms. Laura Villarreal, Brownsville Housing Authority Citizen Commissioner, whose voice echoed a sentiment that I have lived throughout my life, and most especially during my time as your mayor of the city of Brownsville. Hechos y no palabras, actions, not words. My legacy as mayor has been one of action. The seeds that we have planted will bear fruits for generations of Brownsville residents. Alongside the members of the City Commission, we have accomplished some great things. We have spurred tremendous growth, revitalization, and exciting opportunities. I have always believed that the work done in Brownsville has a global impact that has never been more evident in the following endeavors pictured in this letter. As we move forward, I wish only the best for Brownsville and remain a committed supporter of our community as Brownsville reaches its rightful potential. I continue to keep the best interest of Brownsville at the forefront and ask that you do the same. May God bless all of you, and may you find happiness in all you do. Mil gracias y que Dios los bendiga. Thank you very much. the proclamation comes next, and Ben, do you have the proclamation in front of you?
Next, we have the proclamation for Affordable Housing Month. If you would please come up.
You want me to read it, Mayor?
Yeah, you read.
A proclamation of the City Commission of Brownsville, Texas, designating the month of June as Home Ownership Month. Whereas the month of June is nationally recognized as Home Ownership Month by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development to reflect upon the impact owning a home has on household wealth, neighborhood stability, and the nation's broader economic health. And whereas affordable, sustainable home ownership is fundamental to every community as it allows for the accumulation of wealth for owners and spurs economic development. And whereas for the past 22 years, the Housing Authority of the City of Brownsville has hosted a home ownership expo to increase awareness through education and empower families to achieve the dream of home ownership. This year's Home Ownership Expo will be held Saturday, June 22nd, 2019, at the Brownsville Events Center. And whereas through the Home Ownership Expo, HACB will create new opportunities for first-time homebuyers and provide families with the tools and resources to become mortgage-ready. And whereas the City of Brownsville is committed, alongside its community partners, to support affordable home ownership in our community and encourages residents to pursue and achieve their American dream of becoming a homeowner. Now, therefore, we, the members of the City Commission of the City of Brownsville, Texas, by virtue of the authority vested by the charter of said city and on behalf of all of our citizens, do hereby designate the month of June as Home Ownership Month, and further call upon the residents of Brownsville to take pride in their homes and our community as we celebrate National Home Ownership Month, done on this, the 18th day of June, 2019.
Thank you, Mayor, City Commissioners, for always supporting HACB. We are truly blessed to have leadership like yourselves who walk alongside us to build new affordable housing, both rental and home ownership opportunities and options for our families. This agency has evolved in the past 80 years. As you know, last year was our 80th birthday. And as the years have passed, we have evolved to become a trailblazing PHA nationwide. And that's because of the people that you see here in front of you, our HACB team, the rest of our HACB team that could not attend today, and also our board. So on behalf of Chairman Patricio Sampaio, Vice Chairman John Cowan, Commissioners Guerrero, Garduño, and Villarreal, we thank you from our bottom of our hearts for everything you do for our families. And this agency is a reflection of your leadership.
Well, keep up the good work. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Next, we have consent agenda items A through H.
Move to approve. Second. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item.
Next, we have the public comment period. I do have one person that signed up for a public comment. His name is Mr. Carl Burkhalter. Please state your name, sir.
Look, thank you very much for hearing me. I'm sorry I was a little bit late in getting in on this. But I'm a historical researcher. I live at 870 Old Price Road. And y'all can't take that monument down. At the monument of Jeff Davis in Washington Park, that's sacred. Y'all got to leave that alone. I think it has to be put in context, because it's not really clear what it's about unless you know the backstory. It looks like it's just for Jefferson Davis's service to the United States. Well, it is, to the United States, are, plural, because that is what the people of the Valley fought the Civil War for. They were concerned about Mexican politics, the centrist versus the federalist. And when they had a secession convention 3 weeks before South Carolina seceded, before the first state seceded that would become the Confederacy, the people of the Valley got together for a secession convention and decided they wanted to join with Monterey in forming the Rio Grande Republic, or reforming it. They tried to establish it several times. At that meeting, it was a unanimous decision to accept secession, and a few months later, it was 20-1 in the Valley for secession. And they understood that slavery was about to tear America apart. But if you'll bear with me, I'd like to, they knew that, and they said that it's complicated, that it's a complicated issue. And today, people don't understand, how that could be complicated. You just turn them loose. This is why it's complicated. This comes from the 37th Congress.
You have 1 minute.
Okay, I'll hurry. This comes from the 37th Congress report of the Select Committee on Emancipation and Colonization in the House of Representatives. It is useless now to enter upon any philosophical inquiry whether nature has or has not made the Negro inferior to the Caucasian. The belief is indelibly fixed upon the public mind that such equality does exist. There are irreconcilable differences between the two races that separate them, as with a wall of fire. The home of the African must not be within the limits of the present territory of the Union. The Anglo-Americans look upon every acre of the present domain as intended for him and not the Negro. A home must be sought for the African beyond our limits in those warmer regions to which his constitution is better adapted than into our own climate, which doubtless the Almighty intended the colored races should inhabit and cultivate. Okay, blah, blah, blah. This is a question of color and unaffected by the relation of master and slave. Blah, blah, blah. The committee concluded that the highest interest of the white race, whether Anglo-Saxon, Celt, or Scandinavian, require the whole country should be held and occupied by those races. Of course, Robert E. Lee said, the best men of the South have long desired a way to do away with the institution of slavery, and it will be abolished unless humane course can be adopted based on wisdom and Christian principles. They do an injustice by emancipating them. I'm sorry, but thank you for your
That's
time.
okay.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it. It was a good
Thank
lesson.
you.
Yeah, no, if you want
So
to,
the point is, it was complicated, and the Tejanos here knew what was going on, and they knew it's not just real easy to
okay.
just,
If you would like,
Thank
you can get that, your paper marked and put as part of the minutes of today's meetings, okay?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item.
Next, we have items for individual consideration. Action item number 6, consideration and action to award the purchase of a new tractor for the Brownsville South Padre Island International Airport in the amount of $68,546.15.
Good evening. Glad to be back, Honorable Commission, Mayor, Commissioners. I have reinforcements today because I don't know how you're going to treat me. Norma Garcia, she's Equipment Operator 2 at the Brownsville South Padre Island International Airport. She represents 12 of our crews that are in desperate need for this new tractor. It's a reliable John Deere It's through the cooperative, and, well, I'm just seeking your approval to go buy it.
I know this tractor issue has been since I got here 8 years ago, so I will happily make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. And by the way, congratulations, you do a great job. I know this lady personally.
Thank you very much, and
Thank you.
Mayor, Commissioners, whatever happens after today, thank you for your leadership.
Thank you.
Thanks to everyone.
I thought he was gonna let us ride the tractor.
Next, we have action item number 7, consideration action for the Brownsville Community Improvement Corporation Economic Development Project funding on expanding frontiers fiscal year 2019.
Honorable Mayor and Commissioners, I'm here to present the consideration and action to fund the Expanding Frontiers project. Our BCIC board went ahead and approved this a couple months back. We went ahead and went through a public comment period of 60 days. We're here now ready to receive Commissioner approval. I have Deputy City Manager Helen, who will be able to also answer any questions that you might have considering this project. It's still in its infancy, but we're moving really quickly to be able to implement it as soon as possible. The funding amount is for $650,000, so we're humbly asking for your consideration and action for this item.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank
Good work, Judge.
Thank you.
Item number 8.
Next, we have action item number 8, consideration and action on a memorandum of understanding regarding E-Bridge project located at 1302 East Adams.
Again, City Commission, Mayor, we're also going to go ahead and present to you all the opportunity to allow us to finalize the memorandum of understanding between all partners for the E-Bridge project, formerly known as the Center for Business and Innovation Center, that will be occupying the 1304 East Adams Street building, formerly known as Casa de Nylon building. We're still working on the final details, fine-tuning with all the legal partners involved. We have the City of Brownsville, the Chamber of Commerce, the University of Texas, BCIC, the list goes on and on for the number of partners that are involved in this MOU. So this item is just for consideration and action for you all to be able to commit to it, allowing us to be able to finalize it as well. So it's contingent to those items being considered.
Motion to approve?
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Number 9.
Action item number 9, consideration and action on resolution number 2019-041 to approve the presentation of the City of Brownsville's allocation of the Community Development Block Grant, Home Investment Partnerships Program, and Emergency Solutions Grant funding for the 2019 one-year action plan.
Before this item is presented, just for the record, Commissioner Neese, we were able to investigate for any possible issues regarding a conflict of interest, and the City Attorney's Office could not find any conflict of interest, so this would be an item proper for you to vote on. Thank you.
Thank you, Renee.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Commissioners. I also brought my reinforcements tonight. Tonight, we're presenting the proposed one-year annual action plan for 2019-2020. We are required to lay out the activities and the different programs that we have. So the Office of Grant Management and Community Development oversees the HUD funding that we receive on an annual basis. The department's divided into 2 divisions. The Grants Division, which is focused on going out for competitive, non-entitlement funds, and then also the Community Development Division, which is focused on securing the HUD funding. We do receive HUD funds for 3 different programs: the Community Development Block Grant, Emergency Solutions Grant, and Home. And over the last 3 years, we've received over $10 million in those funding. What we need to do is we need to meet certain federal objectives for each program. For example, for CDBG, one of the objectives that we must meet is to benefit low and moderate income individuals, and the other requirements are laid out on the slide. The main objectives for the home program are listed on the slide as well. One of the examples is to provide decent, affordable housing to lower income individuals. And then lastly, for the Emergency Solutions Grant, that is aimed to address homelessness in our community. and some of the objectives include street outreach, rapid rehousing, and emergency shelter. To receive HUD funds, we must undergo a certain process, and so we must submit a consolidated plan, which was reviewed and approved here in 2015. It covers 5 years of our community development funding. It sets out the priorities and also the strategy for the 5 years. The consolidated plan is carried out by our annual action plans. We are presenting to you year 5 tonight of the consolidated plan, and we need to submit this before the actual allocations are set out. Through the development of the consolidated plan and annual action plans, it's important to recognize that we engage the community as part of the Community Voice Campaign. The campaign ensures that our residents' voices are heard. We had in this past Community Voice Campaign over 580 assessments that were done with our community, and it was through going to health fairs, to the Ciclovias, to different events, resident meetings with the Housing Authority. And the results that identify priorities, non-surprisingly again, street improvements and flood drainage were on top of the list. As far as the funding for the next cycle, a little bit over $2.7 million is allocated for CDBG. For home, it's $856,355. For ESG, it's $229,015. $59,000 of program income was generated last year from our home program, so that's also included as far as for the funding that can be allocated to different activities. As far as eligible applicants, back in November 2018, we held our annual Community Development Summit, which kickstarted the application process for our community. It was open to the public. Organizations were invited to attend the summit, and it was more to give them information of what is entailed in the process. There were a total of 23 applications submitted. The total amount requested was over $8.9 million, and the total amount for funding available is $3.8 million. The criteria that is used when providing recommendations includes the project scope, the timeliness schedule objectives, for example, the capacity of the organization, if it's fiscally sound, the budget and the planning of the resources, the goal alignment, does it set out the national objectives of HUD and the community priority here through our Community Voice Campaign, and the past performance. So how has the organization performed in the past in relation to its CDBG funding or home or ESG? And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Armando Rangel, our home manager, that will go over the recommended projects under home.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Commissioners. So I'll be presenting the home proposed projects for this year. 10% will be used for administration, and the rest will be used for new construction and home buyer assistance program. For new construction, Brownsville Affordable will build 5 single-family energy-efficient homes within the city of Brownsville. The homes will be sold to low-income families, and the families can receive up to $25,000 in down payment assistance. For the second project is a home buyer assistance program, and it's going to be administered by Housing Authority of the City of Brownsville. And with this project, they will provide down payment and closing costs up to $25,000 to first-time home buyers. A minimum of 11 low-income families will be assisted. And the home buyer assistance program has been very successful in the past. It has helped over 130 low-income families in the past 4 years. And at this moment, Ms. Lash will cover the CDBG capital improvement projects. Thank you.
Thank you, Armando. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Commissioners. I will be presenting the CDBG proposed projects. First, 20% will be allocated to administration. There were 4 capital improvement projects recommended for funding. The first was to Public Works Street Overlay Project, which will repair curb and gutter and repave streets in the CDBG eligible areas. The second is to the Parks and Recreation Department for the ADA and all-inclusive programming for adaptive equipment for individuals with special needs. The third is for the Brownsville Fire Department, who will be replacing broken, damaged, and inoperable breathing apparatuses. And lastly, The next one will also be for the Brownsville Fire Department, who will be replacing Fire Engine 1, which is housed at the Central Fire Station and serves the downtown historic district commonly known as the Buena Vida. And now, I will be introducing Ms. Marianne Perez. She will be presenting the CDBG Social Services and the Emergency Solutions Grant. Thank you.
Denise, I'm
Yes.
sorry. The allocation is made by, because in the past, it used to be made by the Citizens Advisory Committee. Now, who is it that decides where the allocation goes, or how it's given?
It is through the Community Voice campaign that we launched from November to March. We have the citizens fill out surveys, and we rank them based on the priorities.
But it's no longer, because it's no longer made by a vote by the Citizens Advisory Committee, now it's just based on what you, because by all means, I know that we need a fire truck, and I know that the firefighters need their apparatuses. That's over $1 million, but your number one priority came back that it was streets and drainage, and you only have less than $500,000, and you have more than $1 million for a fire truck. I understand the necessity, I understand the needs, but when the needs assessment came back, and they told you that we needed streets, and they get, I would understand the fire department getting half a million, you know, and you putting more. That's just because, you know, the information that you all
I'll go
said.
ahead and answer. Right now, the Public Works Department is actually working on prior year funding. They actually have a little bit over $1.4 million that they're still needing to expense for CDBG.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Commissioners. I will be presenting CDBG Social Service Proposed Program. The first,
Sorry, do we have anybody from the finance department that can confirm that? I just wasn't aware we had $1.4 million in public works.
Excuse me.
Do we have $1.4 million in public works that's waiting to be spent?
I would have to, I'm sure there's money there, but I don't know the exact amount. I could verify that information.
I will be presenting CDBG Social Service Proposed Program, who provides services to low, moderate income individuals. The first program would be Brownsville Society for Crippled Children Moody Clinic, to provide speech, language, physical, and occupational therapy treatment and evaluation for children. The second program would be Court-Appointed Special Advocates, CASA, services for adult and abused and neglected children to provide a safe and healthy environmental in a permanent home. The third program, Planned Parenthood, which provides family planning, cancer screening and prevention, and other exams. The last program, Sunshine Heavens, who provide high-quality, no-cost hospice care. Now I will be presenting Emergency Solution Grant proposed programs. 7.5% is set aside for admin. The rest of the funding is for four components. First, Emergency Solution Grant Program, funds to help with operating emergency shelter, the following agencies: Ozanam Center and Friendship of Women.
If I might add there, if anyone was wondering about what Renee was referring to, I'm the chairman of the Ozanam Center, and there was a question whether I could vote or not, so for those who were wondering. So.
The next component, Homeless Management Information System, HMIS, which is a federally mandated homeless tracking system. The following are the proposed agencies: Ozanam Center, Friendship of Women, Good Neighbor Settlement House. The next component, Rapid Rehousing Program, funds to help homeless individuals obtain housing quickly and increase self-sufficiency and remain housed. The following proposed agency, Friendship of Women. The last component, Street Outreach, providing essential services necessary to reach out to unsheltered homeless people. Proposed agency, Good Neighbor Settlement House. At this time, at this moment, I'll be presenting Ms. Marina with the following slides.
Thank you, Mary Ann. So what's the next steps? The Brownsville Herald kicked off the comment period for the 30-day comment period, which started May 13th, ended June 12th. There were 2 public hearings held, one at the Central Public Library and another one at the Southmost Library. The feedback that we received was in support of projects that include women's health, street projects, and also it supported the projects that were laid out here. Once it's reviewed here and if approved by City Commission, it gets sent to HUD, and HUD has their review. They look at the eligibility, the activities, if it meets the national objectives and so forth. It needs to be submitted by August the 15th, and they have about 45 days to review and approval for the October 2019 is when we expect to hear from them. As far as the projects in the last 3 years, there's been funding as far as street projects that they're ongoing. So if it's not listed here for recommendation for the next cycle, there's still projects that are in the works from previous fiscal years, previous program years, which include drainage and street projects.
Very good.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, and
Marina.
thank you, Mayor, for your service, and thank you, Commissioners, for your service. Thank you.
Next, we have action item number 10, consideration and action to award a contract for A&E Consultant Services for the Tiger Grant projects.
Good evening, Mayor, City Commissioners. For the record, RJ Garza, Assistant Director of Brownsville Metro. The City of Brownsville has agreements currently in place with approximately 5 architectural firms. These firms are rotated on a selected and fair opportunity basis, ensuring each firm receives projects. Brownsville Metro, as you know, was awarded the Tiger Grant, totaling $5,700,000. This amount, in conjunction with other local and federal funding, brings Brownsville Metro's total project funding to $10,611,980. The architectural portion of the projects includes preliminary designs and surveys through final construction design. Gignac and Associates, LLC, has vast past experience in the required areas, and they were the next firm on the city's contract list, rotation schedule. The firm has a previously agreed upon rate of 6.5% for any project exceeding $3 million. We are currently working with the FTA officials to ensure that our architectural procurement meets FTA requirements. Our intent is to have this document completed by the end of this week. Brownsville Metro staff request the City Commission to approve the contract with Gignac as presented, subject to approval by the city attorney.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, appreciate your support.
Thank you.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Motion carries.